Debbie here from Craftywafty, and I thought I'd just come on and, as I sort of mentioned the other day, show you how I've made my little mini album, a little flip album. It is very cute, very sweet. It doesn't take long to make up, so just a little thing. If you've forgotten to get somebody you love a Valentine's gift for tomorrow, you can make up a quick little album now. It doesn't take that long, and then you can put some lovely little photos and that in it. But let me just show you, very simple. It won't take us long to get through this tonight, but here we are. So we've got, hence why I've called it the flip album. So you've got the little flip that opens there, and obviously you can pop a little photos on there. You've got the two little doors there, so again you can pop that on there, and then we've got this really lovely waterfall effect going on here as well. And as you can see, I've just trimmed down some of the pages here for the photos and stuff like that. So we've got a nice big one. So these will take 3x4 photos. You've got a little one, or you can leave that for journaling, but it's up to you how you decorate it. And then obviously some places to put some photos there. Very simple, this one. Lovely and quick and easy to make. Now obviously, if you're just joining us, please do say a hi in the comments. Be lovely to know who's out there watching. And as always, on a Thursday night, it's a little bit nippy in here at the minute, so I've got my cup of tea, so I apologise for any slurping in advance. Okay, superb. So what we're going to do is now, let's make the album cover first, and we're going to put the pages on, and then what I will do is I will sort of say, right, that's part one done, just making up the basic album, and then I'm just going to carry on then with the decorating afterwards. So it's really up to you. If you don't want to sit and spend the rest of the evening watching me faffing around trying to make a decision about what or how I'm going to decorate it, then at least you've seen me make the basic album, and you can go ahead and do whatever you like, because I know I do have a tendency to faff. The trouble is there's so many lovely papers out there. I'm torn between what I want to be decorating my albums with. But there we go. All right, but anyway, please do say hi, and that'll be lovely, and where you're from. So to start with then, the album cover. Now, I've used construction board. This is a little bit on the thin side from what I normally use, because I'm trying to use all my scraps, you know. Now, come on, I can't be the only crafter out there who has got a massive stash of stuff that needs to be used, because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make up bits and pieces using some of my stash. So these are some offcuts that I had from a previous project. A little bit on the thin side, I would say. If we're looking at you know, the thickness, micron, it's probably about 1,000. It's not as thick as the other ones. You know, probably the thickness maybe a little bit thicker than a cereal box. So if you don't have any construction card, obviously you can use a cereal box to make your album. Okay, and cut that down. If I wanted it a little bit thicker, I could stick the two together, and that will give me a bit more strength in that. But that's just what I'm using for tonight. Now, as you can see, I've used some construction tape going round. Now, the sizes for the two outside covers are 4.5 inches by 5.5 inches. So you need two of those for front and back, and then the little spine is 1.25 inches by 4.5 inches. Okay, and that will make up the basic album. Okay, now, as I was just saying, so I've just started going around. I don't know if any of you have seen any of my previous videos, like where I'm using the lovely construction tape, or sometimes it's known as tiger tape, especially if you pop over to Cool Cats Crafts as well. They call it tiger tape over there, just to sort of do the trim going round. So I've already gone round 3 sides on that one, so I'm just going to do these last two. Now, I will say I'm a bit of fingers and thumbs tonight, so rather than try and stretch it out like I normally do, I'm just going to cut this in strips just to line it for tonight. It's been a bit of a bit of a manic couple of days, and yeah, so I just need to, whoops, see, it's alive already, so I'm just going to pop that on there in the middle. There we go. Tuck that in, just run that along there just to make sure we've got a nice sharp edge, and then I'm just going to smooth that down like so. There we are. Okay, and then I'm just going to do the other side, and I'll just tear a bit of this off. I love the sound that this makes. Does anybody else like that sound, or is it just me? Perhaps it's just you, Deb. Maybe. Right, okay, so I'm going to pop that out the way for a minute. Whoops, that is curling around good and proper tonight. Right, okay, so we're just going to line that up, stick that on, fold that over. Right, now I've just noticed that's not right to the edge, so I'm just going to take that right over to the edge. I've shortcut that just slightly, but if I put it like that and then that end, I'll have it on there. Right, okay, let's bring that over a little bit more. Told you I'm all fingers and thumbs tonight. Right, there we go. Okay, that should tuck that in. I can just cover that over. Make sure we've got a nice, give that a little tug. Here we are. Okay, so that's gone round the black, gone round the edges with the black. Now I have made this album before using black card, where I've sort of done the cover. So if you've seen me do that method as well, obviously you can use that method as well, but using the big sheet of card and then sort of wrapping it over and mitering the corners and stuff. But tonight this is a nice, quick, easy one. And then my little flip bit here, my little spine, here we go. It's going to go in the middle, and I'm going to run the tape along. So let me just pop that album up there out of the way, and we'll just spend 3 hours trying to find the end. There we go. I keep thinking I should buy myself one of those, you know, like the sellotape dispensers, to put this on. Right, now this one I'm going to cut a strip like so. Okay, just stop that from sticking on my fingers. Hey, it's alive, it's alive. Right, let's put this down here first. So I'm not going right to the middle of that, okay, because I want to leave myself a little gap. And like I've said before, doing it this way, you just leave yourself, you know, either 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch, depending on the thickness of the album that it's going to be. Now this is only going to be a small album, so I'm not looking for a massive gap on there. So we're going about 1/8 of an inch there. So I'm just sticking down there again, making sure it all lines up, and then I can bring that up like so, and that one will come down over the top and just line that in there. Where's me Bernie? There's Bernie. All right, we'll just give that a little rub. So that's the first bit on. So you can see why I only went round 3 sides as opposed to all 4 sides, because the other side gets covered up when you flap it over, and I didn't want it to end up too bulky either. Right, here we go. Love it. Love that sound. Right, okay. I'm just gonna trim that off. Oh, that's sticking to everything. Right, I can pop that over there out of the way. And again, we're just going to do exactly the same. So I'm gonna line that up on there. Okay, and then I'm just going to bring this to line up in the middle with the as much as same gap as I've done on the other side, like so. Now if you're a little unsure about doing this, as I've said before, you can use a little ruler to just make sure everything is nice and level. And I'm going to take that one up like there. There we go. And we're going to bring this one down and line that up like that. And then I use my little Bernie. There we go. And that in itself is the album cover made. Now, because this is quite thin, I'm just going to wrap another bit of tape going all the way around just to cover that up completely. I think on the other ones I've actually done where I put a little bit of black tape at the top, but because this is quite a nice small thin album, I can just wrap another bit of tape round that as well. So I'll start in the middle. There we go. I'm going to flip that over. There we go. Take that down. There we are. I'll flip that over, and then I'm just going to trim that off. And that goes in, and that covers up that nice bit of construction board. And there we go. And that's given me a nice solid firm spine then. And then obviously we're going to decorate that anyway. So there we are. Now, pages that are going to go in. So I'm going to give you the sizes for those. Now, this one is the big flap that's going to go on the inside front cover. That's going to open up like that. So the measurements for that one, I'll just have a little measure, are 5 1/4 inches by 4 3/4 inches. And then on the 4 3/4 inch side, I've scored 1/2 inch going down. So I've already pre-scored that. And as you can see, I've put some red liner tape on there ready. So we're just going to give that a little fold, and we're just going to use burning, give that a little crease so we get a nice sharp edge when we come to put that in. So that's that page. So that is going to be the page that sits there. Then we've got the doors that are going to go underneath either side. Now it's up to you. I have done on this album, where are we? I've actually got these overlapping, okay, so they just sort of overlap like so. It's up to you whether you want to bring them together or not. But yeah, so it's really your choice. I can hear a cat trying to get out of the kitchen because I've left him indoors where it's nice and toasty, but he wants to come out here and see what we're up to. So we'll see what noise he makes or not. You can probably hear me chit-chatting. But yes, anyway. So try not to have any distractions from the Mickey this evening. Okay, so we're going to have the 2 doors going either side, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the waterfall, and these are all the same size, so that's should be 7 in total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the measurements for this are 3 3/4 inch by 4 1/4 inch. So you should get a lovely 3x4 photo on there without too much trouble. Okay, and what I've done is on the 3 3/4 inch side, I've scored down 1/2 inch, and you can see there I've put the red liner tape on there as well. So I'm just going to give these all a little rub down with Bernie on the red liner tape. There we go. Let's just give those a little rub there. Just make sure that that is nice and secure, and then we're going to fold those over ready to attach like so. And this is what I love about these little mini albums. You can see it gives you an opportunity to use up all your bits and pieces, which is what I'm trying to do. Okay, now we've got 2 doors, so we're going to pick up 2 of these. I'm going to put the rest of the doors there. You can see that they're going to fit with a nice overlap. So let's just fold back the score line, give those a crease like so, and then we've got the flap to go, the big flap to go at the top. Now, if I remember rightly, I do believe I put the big flap in first, and then I put the 2 doors in. So let's get that done. Now I'm going to turn this upside like so, and that's going to sit just nicely on there. And what I will do is I will come in just a fraction from that edge. Let's just give that a nice crease. That's not quite creased as nice as I like that, but that will just sit in there, and then the doors will go underneath. Okay, so let's do that. Now, what did I do with my lovely pokey tool? There we are. Now, as I've always said about when you're sticking your bits into the album, if you're unsure about just going with it with the red liner tape there, you know, just add a little bit of glue just to give you that bit of wiggle room. And I'm just going to line this up and trying to sort of give myself a little edge either way around. So I've just come in literally just a fraction like so. Let's bring that down just a little bit. There we go. See why the beauty of putting the glue on there just gives you that chance to move that around a bit. Okay, all right, I'm just going to fold that in. Just going to give that a quick rub down. And now we've done that bit, okay, which is the front side, so we're going to open that up, and now I'm going to put the doors in. Now, putting the doors in, I want to make sure that I come as close to that edge as I can there, so that when that folds over, we've got that almost flush. I don't know if you can see, we've got that almost flush against the bottom. Okay, it'll be slightly out, and if you're worried about that, what you can do is just trim a fraction off. It's just so the aesthetics look nice. You see on this one, the one I first made, yes, I have got a little bit of the black showing at the bottom of the doors, but if you're being a bit of a perfectionist, you could sort of just trim them down a little bit. It's not going to make too much difference with the size of the photos. So let's do that. Let's just take a slither off. I'm just going to take a tiny slither off. Where did I put my... So that when that goes in, so it just makes the album have a bit more of a professional finish to it. Oops, there we go. That's coming through that red line tape bit there. So now if I pop that on there and just fold that down, that's going to cover that beautifully. Okay, and then I'm just going to do the same on this one. So I'm just going to take a slither off of this one, like so. So through that red liner tape bit there, and again that should work on the other one, on the other side. Okay, so I'm just going to test that and see. So when that goes in against there, that comes over, and that just covers over that edge. In fact, that could probably do with just a fraction more. So we'll just do a little bit of trial and error. There we are. There we go. Just tuck that in on there. Bring that down. Yeah, and that's hidden. Beautiful. Right. Okay, so let's get these stuck on. So I'm going to do one on one side first. We've got Madeline. Hi, Madeline. Thank you for joining me. Oh, she said, watching now, missed the first part. Don't worry, Madeline. I only started a little while ago, and this video will go on Facebook afterwards, so you can always rewind it back and catch up. So nice of you to join us this evening. And who else have we got who's come on board tonight? Let's have another little look. Well, we'll stop for a minute. Trouble is my little phone doesn't always show me who's watching. Let's have a little look. Oh, no, it's not letting me see who that is. Okay. I know I've got somebody else watching us, so right, we'll pop that on. Right, so I'm just going to line this up, this door with the edge of the flap as it comes over, so it's all nicely in line. And I'm just going to, that's it, give that a little press like so. And if I fold that over, so that sort of disappears then, so you wouldn't know that there was a door under there until you lift the flap up. There we go. And we're just going to do the same on the other side. Take this off. Ooh. Right, where's my little bit of glue? Okay, run that along. Nice little bit. There we are. And I'm just going to do the same on this side. So again, now, because I'm putting this one in, I want to make sure that I line it up against the edge as it comes down there, that it lines up with that edge coming along there as well. So we've just got to look out for 2 areas of lining it up. Let's just take that down just a fraction. So that lines in with that, that lines in with that. It's all about the aesthetics of what it looks like when it's finished, because you just want it to be in line as much as possible. Okay, so we'll give that a quick rub. So now that should go over the top, so it hides those doors. And it's a bit hard, and I'm sorry that it's a little bit hard to see in the black, but once we put the papers on, that'll be fine. And then obviously that opens up, and there we go, 1, 2. So we've got our two doors on there already. So that's half the album done as we go along, and we've just got the little waterfall to do now. So I'm just going to get one of my lovely little clips. I'm just going to hold that down because I don't want it to keep flapping as I'm working on this side, otherwise it's going to get in my way. Okay, and what else have we got? Oh goodness me, let's warm my hands up a little bit. Right, well, I think it's time for a quick slurp of tea. I did apologise about the slurping. All right. So now we come to doing the waterfall coming the other way. So this is what we're working on, this one. All right, and what I'd like to try and do is try and line up the waterfall pages with the flap on the other side. So when you look at it, it looks really straight across the two covers. So a little bit trickier, but you know, you want that really lovely effect. So I'm just going to fold over these pages like so. And just a little recap, sizes of these are 4 1/4 inch by 3 3/4, and I've scored down the 3 3/4 by 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to go in and score all the pages. So we've got 5 of these to go in. Okay, so 1, 2, there's 3, 4, 5. And like I said, actually this album doesn't take that long to put together. In fact, we've been on not long at all, and we've almost made the album already, and it is literally then just the decoration and that afterwards. Okay, so as with anything, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a little test run. Now, if you're a little unsure about making sure that it is in line, what you can do is use your ruler and just have that roughly against the edge, and that will give you a rough guide. So I've come in not quite 1/8 of an inch on there, but if I run that along, so that should give me something to butt up the first one against, and that'll make sure that it goes in nice and even as well. Okay, so just a little tip on there, just to make sure that all goes in accordingly. Lovely. Right, here we go. Red line the tape off, a little bit of glue, Da, 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 da. And it's almost like a repeat this once we've got the first one in. So I'm just going to turn that on there, use that as a little guide just to come along. So just roughly, there we go. And then I'm just going to drop that in against that. Now I'm not obviously not coming right up against the spine. I've come in a little bit from the spine. Okay, and there we are. So that top bit now is the same, pretty much the same distance from the top as the other one. Okay, on the front page. And then for the next waterfall page, we then start to fill in going across here. So the next one is going to butt right up against that folded part that we had for the score bit. Okay, so there's the page. So this bit, in order to get the waterfall effect, we have to come in against that edge there. If we come in here, it's just going to end up like being a little book, but we want it to be a waterfall, so we want it staggered. Now, if you're a little unsure because the about lining these up, another little tip for you is just to get a black Sharpie pen and just run a line all the way down, just in case you don't put that page in straight. Because if I didn't quite get it in straight, because I've already blacked it in, it doesn't notice. But we're trying to make sure that we get it as close to that as we can and keep it in line with our edges. And if your pages are slightly out of kilter, as it were, if you've not quite cut them as straight as you should have done, by putting that black line in there, that's just going to hide that. You need to have these little tricks up your sleeve, you know. Well, that's my excuse anyway, and I'm sticking to that. So right, we're just going to run our glue along there, like so, and I'm going to pop that on there. So I want to make sure that I line it up with the top. Now I've got a guide from that first page, and I want to make sure, and this is just a fraction out, so there we go. And if I fold that over, now they're lining up, so there we go. And then we just do the same again. So I'm just going to run another black line down there. Now the Sharpie pen that I'm using is a chisel tip. It's got that really nice wide edge to it, and so it's really good for drawing those singular lines and that, so that's really good. So I'm just going to do the next one. Ooh. Just saying, my table's really squeaky tonight, or is that me? Could be me. So we're just going to put that on. Okay, and we're going to tuck that in, and again I'm just going to make sure that that is level, like so. Yeah, that's still lining up. Okay, then we put another little black line. Oops, I can't get the lid off. Here we are. Another black line going down there. And I think we've just got 2 more to go. There we are. One. Put a little bit of glue on there. Okay. I'm just going to line it up against there, so that is fairly, so wiggle that just a little bit. I want to keep that straight line going across. Okay, let's just check. Alright, that's not too bad. And then our final one, so another strip of black down there. And our last page, and that pretty much is the album made already. And that's taken, what, half an hour just to sort of put that together. I did say this one is a short and sweet one tonight. Okay. Right. And then we're just going to pop that on there, the very last one. So with the last one, I just want to make sure that I'm lined up against the top edge and I've got a nice straight edge coming down. So let's just check against that. That could probably do with just moving over just a fraction. Make sure I've got a nice straight edge coming in on there, and they fold over, and there we are. And that is our waterfall done. I'm just going to crease these down like so, just so it lies nice and flat like that. 1 2 and 1 2 3 4 5. Now I'm left with this bit here, so I've pre-cut out a piece of card which is just going to sit in there. Okay, and the measurements for that are 4 1/4 inches by 3 inches, and I'm just literally going to stick that in there. So I'm going to keep it lined up with the level of the edges of the pages, and make sure that I've got a nice straight trim coming down on there. I'm just going to use a bit of book binding glue for this one, so I'm just going to put that in on there like so, and then I'm just going to pop that on there. So I'm bringing that up to that edge, making sure that's all lovely and straight. And there we are, and that is the basic album made. All right, so the little mini flip album, and that is it. And then now it's just a case of decorating it. So as I've said before in my previous videos, when I get to this point, you're more than welcome to carry on watching me as I decorate it, and just go through a few things that I do. Now it's up to you if you want to put magnets. Okay, so like for here, I might want to put a couple of magnets in on the doors to hold them down when that comes down. And here on this bit, I could have put in a little belly band or something just to go across and hold those in place. But yeah, it's just different options of stuff that you can do. So the papers that I'm going to use to decorate, I don't know if you saw me do, where did I put it? The other week, I made the little bee accordion album, so I've still got some of these lovely bee papers left over, so that's what I'm going to use to decorate this album with. And I managed to get a hold of some really cute little stickers and that. So I love these little phrases. Honey, I'm comb. What else have we got? As busy as a bee, Mama Bee. There's lots of lovely little phrases in there, and I've got some other cute little push-out sticker, like little toppers and things like that I'm probably going to use to decorate with. So that's what I'm going to be using to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little look at the papers. Now again, because I'm using up scraps, look at that, look at this lot. You see, I'm going to have a whale of a time using up these scraps. Lots of lovely papers, so let's just get a few out and see what we've got. So this is why I keep bits like this, because bits like this will do the spine, like that for example. So I know I'm probably a bit of a hoarder and I do hang on to this stuff, but you know, if it gives you the opportunity to use your scraps to make these things, and these will make a lovely little Mother's Day gift, or a little special birthday gift, you know, as opposed to a card. You know, you can put photos of you know, if it's like a Mother's Day gift, you can put photos of children or grandchildren in there. So I just think it's a nice way of sort of just a little homemade thing. It doesn't take that long to do, and yeah, it gives you all of those options. So I've pulled all of this out, and I love this, and I'm thinking this would be really nice on the front cover with a couple of the bees. So I'm just going to put that to one side. And on the back, let's have a little look. What have I got here on the back? I've got those buzzy bees, but I think that's a bit shallow. So this is where I just start going through and seeing what I've got and what I haven't got. Now this is really nice as well, but it's too narrow for the album cover, but it will do a couple of the waterfall pages, so I'll definitely want some of that in there. I'll probably use some of that for the waterfall. So I'm just trying to look at the different colours that I'm using. I've got a nice little honeysuckle. All right, now that would be quite nice. Oh, look at that. See what I mean by using scraps? That is like perfect. That just fits that front. In fact, I might use that as the front and use the other one as maybe for the flat bit inside. So we're going to keep that scrap. What else have we got? Oops. So let's just have a rummage through, see what I've got. See, that's more bees. That could do the back. That's almost the same size. Might just need trimming down. Okay, what other papers have I got in here? The album covers. Ah, here we are. Now this is rather lovely. Might use the honeycomb. That can go. And I'm just thinking of the doors. So I need something for the doors because I like to have the doors matching. Ah, the little bee happies. That might just fit. Let me just see if I'm going to have enough. There we go. See, look, I've made a mess already. It doesn't take 5 minutes. So if I've got that on there, then I'm not. Oh, well, I'll get one door done, but that could do. It's a little bit on the shallow side. Will that fit? That will fit one of those. Let's see what that looks like on there. Okay, so if I can find another bit that sort of size, then I could do the 2 little doors with that. Right, there's some more of that Be Happy. So they're a little bit on the small side. So when I'm keeping any of my scraps, I'll try and keep them in some sort of logical order when I'm saving them. Now this has got that's got like about honeybees in it, slightly different tone, so probably not going to use that one. Let's just see what else have I got on my bigger sheets. Let's have a little look. I don't think I've got, you see that's a big one, maybe not. Right, okay, what else have we got? So I've got one of those. So these may do for the doors actually. Might keep that for the door and keep that for the little thing on the front there. Now the spine, what am I going to put on the spine? So there's a little Be Happies. Let's have a little look. What else have we got? See all these. It's like a surprise. Ah, now that's quite lovely. That could make a nice spine. So I'll put those over there. There's a couple there. And then all these really thin strips can be used to do the filling in for the waterfall card. So we've got some of this. What's on the other side of that? Oh, we've got little bees there. So have I got anything big enough? Is that wide enough? Yeah, so that would do a couple of the doors. And this one is, oh, it's another little bee one. So I'm just choosing the different shadings of, see, I love that, the honeybee. I think that looks really, really lovely. So, but I don't think I've got any big enough to do the like maybe the flap or something, which I think would be looking good. That was the other honeysuckle. We'll hang on to that. So I'm just working my way through some of the bigger bits. I think I've got some of that already. We'll just clear the decks a little bit, and then we can have a proper look through. Okay, now this one has got, where was it? I've just seen it. I don't know whether that, you see that's got a nice bee on there with a little bit of the flower. Is that depth going to work on that one? Oh, that might just work. Right, okay, Deb, let's just move these bits out of the way. And then I can make a decision then as to where I'm going to put what. Here we go. I'm going to tuck that all in. Now, I did like that other bee paper, the one which just had the honeybee on it. So I'm just going to see if I've got any bigger sheets, because I really do like that with the honeybee writing on it. And I think it'd be a shame not to have some of that included. So let's just have a little look. There we are. That's what I'm after, a sheet of this. So, oh, right, there we go. And a sheet of that as well. So I think that's going to look lovely, because it's got the hives on one side, and then it's got the writing with all the different names of the bees as well. So I definitely want to use that. Oh, okay. Oh, goodness me. My chair keeps moving tonight. Right. Okay. So, oh, I think we've got somebody else who's joined us as well tonight. Becky, welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. If you've missed the first bit, don't panic, because the video will get loaded up onto Facebook on our Craftywafty page, and so you can always go back and recap. So I'm at the point now of my faffing, technical term that, faffing and decorating. With a little slurp of tea. Okay. Now, I think this is really lovely, and you see what I might do is, because I decorated this one with some really lovely bee ribbon, and I used that paper. You see what I could do is do that, you know, so it almost looks like it's a set. I could have in that, or I can go completely random. Oh, decisions on a Thursday evening. I think I'm going to choose something else. Let's just have a little look at my stickers, what I've got here on my toppers, because that might decide what I'm gonna do. So we've got, like, now this is nice, like for a birthday, happy birthday, honey. So that'll go quite nice. Maybe I could put, oh, look at that, look. If I mount that onto black card, that would work quite well. And we've got a queen bee, have a beautiful day. And we've got a nice little be happy. What else have I got in my little stash? Oh, we've got some hexagonal ones as well. You are the bee's knees. Home sweet home. You belong together. So that's more for if you was doing this for a couple, I suppose. And you're sweet like honey. I quite like, I think I'm going to try and do it generic, because I don't want to, let's go with the you're sweet like honey. Let's do the hexagonal one, and to go on there, because that will just be a little bit different on the album. And then we're just going to see what other papers that will work with. So that's a little bit bright for that, you see, but that would look quite nice maybe on the black. That's a little bit. And so we have got the hexagonal one, but obviously whatever I put that on, or we could go with a nice sort of shiny gold. Now that could work, but again I'm going to mount this on black card, so that will hopefully stand out a little bit. So maybe we'll go with that for the front cover. I mount that on black, so I'll need to trim that page down a little bit, and we've got, that's a little bit on the thinner side. Okay, so that's for the front cover. The back cover, something to contrast, so maybe I'll just do that on the back. So that's a little bit on the, not as wide. That one's a little bit wider, so that will probably go, depending on how much black I want showing round there. So we'll go right there, front and back. Now, I absolutely adore these little clips, little black clips. I've got them off of Amazon. I think you get 50 in a packet. They're not that expensive, but they're great for doing this sort of stuff when you're trying to work things out. So that's my front and back cover. And now I need to sort out what I'm going to put in on the inside. Okay, so I quite like maybe this one. We've got the bees here, so I might have that on the outside. And this is how you just start to build it all up. So if you've not done anything like this before, then I don't know whether my method is the best or not. I'll be honest. But there we go. You've just got to trial and error this, haven't you? So I'm just going to see what size I cut the paper. So that is 5 and 3/8 on that one by 4 1/4. So let's just trim this down. That's for the outside, and the inside one I think is slightly smaller. Let's have a look at the inside one. That's 5 inches by 4 inches. Okay, that's fairly straightforward. Let's trim some of these down then, and then that'll give me some bigger pieces to play with. So we've got 4 inches. Now looking at the pattern here, I want to have a couple of the bees on there. So I'm using an Omni grid because then I can see where my cut lines are going to be. So if I cut that 4 inches there, I'm going to get 1, 2, 3 bees on there, which I think is going to look great. So let's just line that up like so. Where's my trusty? Okay, so 4 inches by 5 inches. Now the 5 inches, I think I'm going to have to come around and do it this end so that I can take off some of that, but I've got enough of the patterned paper. Just line that up. There we go. So I've still got, oh look, I've just got that bee in there. Okay, so what I might do is move that over by 1/2 inch and then trim 1/2 inch of that one, and then that should help to center those bees a bit better on the page. So let's just trim that down, and it needs to be 5 inches. So we're just going to trim the other 1/2 inch off the end. So 5 inches. There we go. But I'm not going to throw that away because this will be useful for filling in those gaps there. So like I said, don't ever throw away your scraps. You can utilize them. Okay, right. So that is going to sit on there like so. So now you can see I've got the 1, 2, 3 bees on there. So I'm just going to use one of my little clips, and I'm going to put that on there just to hold that in place for a minute. Now on the inside here, I'm going to put a photo mat, so I don't need to cover that, but I do need to cover this bit and the doors. So just checking this measurement here. So again, that will be 5 inches by 4, which will sit just nicely in that bit to cover that. So on the inside, I think I've got, let's have a little look. I've got this bit here, that's slightly under the 4 now. Oh, but I have got the honeysuckle. so we could trim that down, and that will go quite nicely in there because we've got the bees and the honeysuckle. So let's trim you down, and it's just a case of eyeing up and looking at your shades and that. But I mean, I'm going for a sort of the same sort of colour palette, but there's nothing to say that you don't have, well, you definitely don't have to. You can change it up and do it as much as, you know, make it as bold as you like. And we want 5 inches on there, like so. And again, I'm going to hang on to the little strips, so that will tuck in just nicely there, and then those pages are going to come over. So on the outside of those, we've got these cute little bees here, so I might use this for the doors. So now for the doors, let me just check what my measurements were on the original one. They are 2 7/8 by 4 inches. So by 4 inches, 2 7/8 by 4 inches. So I need to cut that by 4. Just trim that down. And we'll cut that down by 4 inches. There we go. Just line that up by 4 inches. And then I think I said it was 2 7/8, didn't I? But I'm just going to double check just to make sure. So 1, 2 7/8. Yeah, okay. And then these will be the just line that up. I love these omni grids. They're just so useful. They're quilting rulers if you've never come across them before. They're really handy. So and 2 7/8 on this one. Just going to trim that down. Now I did, if you remember, on these doors, take a little bit down off there, so I'm just going to trim a fraction off because I wanted them to be in line. So just going to square those off so we just get a better finish on that. Oh, I cut through. Right, and these are the doors on that. Right, so that's 1, 2. So that's those bits, because on the inside of these bits I'm going to put photo mats. So they're those. So that is that side done already. Okay, and I'm just going to clip that so all of that keeps in position there. And now it's just working out what I'm going to do on the other side. And once I've got everything cut out, I mean, to be honest, I think once you've sorted out everything that you're going to decorate it with, then the actual decorating itself doesn't take that long. It is the it is the decision making that can be a little bit of a problem. Well, it is in my case anyway. Now I've got this bit, so I'm going to have some of that. I'm just looking to see what's going to work better with that one on the front. I think that the writing on that side will look better. So I'm just going to go over to my trusty cutter over here, and because this is a big sheet, so let's just check. Where are we? So if that is 3 1/4, so that needs to be 3 inches. So these are going to be 3 inch by 4 inch. Perfect. Right, let's just trim these. 3 inches. Like so. And we're just going to cut these by 4 inches. There we go, 3 by 4s. Oh, it's good to get up and move. Right, so I'm going to have that one on that one, because the colour palette isn't too bad actually, and I've got some lovely little stickers and things like that I can use for that. So I'm just going to go through and click these on as I go through. So that one for that one, then that will have a photo mat on there. Then I can put that one in on there, which is the little hives. I might swap these around a bit once I've sort of put it together. I'm just literally cutting the sizes for the minute. Now I've already used those bees. I've got these ones, and I've got the honeybee one, so I might use that one next. So let's trim you down. 3 inches. Where are we? So this is what I love, you know. I mean, it you know, how you can just create something out of paper and so forth, you know. I just think it's really quite magical. And the lovely thing is that if you're giving this as a gift, you know, I think people really appreciate homemade gifts. Now that is, why is that a little bit wonky? Is that a little bit wonky, or is that my eyes? That is just a fraction out. Oh, what a shame. What a shame, Deb. I was going to use that. Okay, well, I'll put that to one side for a minute. Right, let's go with this one. What was I using out the front? Right, now that's... So what have I got on that side? So I've got some goldy colour. So let's just check. Is that 4 inches? That is, okay. Now sometimes when you're doing stuff like this, I don't know about you, but I find that, you know, I might cut 2 or 3 pages and then just swap them around until I'm happy with what they look like. So it doesn't mean that just because I've cut it, I've got to use it. I can move things around a little bit. So I'm just going to pin that one on there. Now this one is also a honeycomb one, but I might have that one for the back, just because I've got a honeycomb there and I don't want to have honeycomb together, if you see what I mean. So I'm just looking at the palette as we go across here. So I might use that one as the back one, because that, what I like about this one is because it's quite plain, that I can put my photo, you know, place photo here, and somebody can just put a photo straight on there. Now because it's at the back as well, I might just want that just a little bit bigger than the others. So where I was doing 4x3, so I could get away with 3 1/4, so 3 1/8. So let's go with 3 1/8, because I can always trim it down afterwards. Like so, by 4 inches, because that is the height. Like that, so that will sort of tuck in there, because it's a little bit wider here, but it will be covered. So, but you can put a really nice photo on there. So let's put a little clip on there. Love these clips. Right, clip you on there. So what am I after? 2 more pages. So now I'm just looking at the palette going across, seeing whether that one will work. Okay, well, it breaks it up a little bit different. So let's go with one of those. And I have got the brown, so I could be going from the shades of the browns. So that might work, but I don't think, is that wide enough? Yeah, oh, just so 3 inches by 4. How are we doing for time? So, okay, so, do you know what, it's not bad. Here we are, first hour in. We've made the album, and we've almost sorted out the decorations for that. Okay, and then we're going to come down here as well. And we're just going to cut that in by 4 as well. Okay. Oh, we've got a lovely lady called Pippa. Hi, Pippa. Nice of you to join us. So wanted to watch this from the beginning. Please don't panic, all right? Because I will be putting this up. As soon as I've done it, because it's live, I can upload it straight onto Facebook, and then you can go back and watch it at your heart's content. Okay, so please don't worry about that. And I do apologise for all my waffling, because I am a real waffler, and I get that. But, you know, when you're sat here on your own in your craft room, I think you need to talk to somebody. Not that I always make much sense at the end of the day, but hey ho. Here we go. Right, and the last page bit, let's just come down here. But yes, please do, by all means, go back and watch. And I must apologise, actually, because last week I wasn't well at all, and I would have done this album last week. But yes, I was a little poorly, and I wasn't able to come on and do my live. And my plan is just to give you a heads up while I'm chatting away here, is to come on every Thursday, apart from next week, because next week is half-term week. So have a little break on half-term week. But after that, the plan is to come on every Thursday night and do something a little different, whether it's cards, whether I'm making an album. Here we go, see that one can pop in on there as well. So yeah, just trying to change it up a little bit. And if there are things that you'd like me to go over, or you'd like to see me make, because I don't just do albums and cards, I do all sorts of bits and pieces, like quilling, paper folding, in terms of like book folding and things like that. There's all sorts of stuff that I can do. But yeah, by all means. And what I want to really do is make Thursday night our club night, you know. Come and join the Craftywafty Craft Club, and we'll get on with bits and pieces. And you can sit, bless you, and listen to me waffling till the cows come home. Just, there we go. Right. Okay, I think, she says, I think I've got everything cut out. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little clips off. This is so cute. I love them. I so love the little clips. And that's the back page. And I'm going to leave that there for a minute. But I'm just going to take these out, because I want to sort out the order that I'm going to put these in. Okay, bearing in mind that's my cover for that one. So I have got that there, but so we've got, let's try and change these around a bit, because I've got a bit of an orangey one. So I want to sort of maybe tuck that in the middle, but I want to change it up a little bit. Maybe start playing with cards, this, isn't it? So we'll do a little shuffle. Should we do a little shuffle? See, I've got bees on that one, but they're slightly different bees, so I think these need to go in. So I think maybe I'll have that there, maybe have those bees tucked in there, and finish off with that. What do we think, people? Do we like that? If I have that in that order going across, and then I finish off with that one tucked in underneath at the back. Because I quite like the fact that we've got bees, and on here it tells me the different names, and that will look, I think, really nice. I haven't got my strips cut down in the middle yet, but I think, you know what? Let's get the inside decorated first, and I'll worry about the spine bit and that afterwards. Okay. Right. What are we going to do now? We need to ink. I like to ink all my edges. I use, because of the paper I'm using is black, I'm using the Distress Ink black soot. Okay, and the reason I do this is that it just helps cover up that, I don't know if you can see the little white core that you get in some papers, and it just helps cover that, so it just blends it in better with the background paper. But it also, depending on how much you ink it, you know, will give it that sort of oldie worldy effect. I'm just going to go around on each of these. This is another weird sound, isn't it? You know, like the sound I was saying with the construction tape. This is a very distinctive crafting sound. Those of you that are crafters, if you had your eyes blindfolded and you heard this sound, you'd know exactly what I'm doing. I'm just going to go round, and we're going to do this. Here we are. I'm just going to take these round, like so. Like that. I am keeping them in the order so I don't change my mind, because I'm terrible for that. Do you know what, I've decided on occasions where I've made an album and I go, do you know what, I'm going to use that paper, and then I make the album and then I completely change my mind. Woman's prerogative, that's what it is. Sorry guys, but it is. Woman's prerogative to change your mind. So now you can see it doesn't take that long to do it. Once you've got all the pieces cut, it really doesn't take that long. I'm going to do that one that's in the back as well. Like so. Okay, I'm just going to go round like that. I'm just going to tuck that in there. So we're going to concentrate on the waterfall first, and we'll come back to the front cover bit on the inside there. Now, your choice. All right, I personally love to do a little bit of faux stitching. I think it's quite therapeutic actually, but I just feel that it does give the papers that finished look going around. This is what we mean by faux stitching, is just doing little dashes around there. There are lots of different designs you can do. You could do a couple of dashes and a kiss, or dots, or what have you. So, you know, you can mess around with it as much as you like, but I just think it just finishes off the pages. So the idea is that you know, sort of go around and all around the edges. I just think it makes it looks a little bit more professional, but that's my personal opinion. And maybe some of you out there go, what are you waffling on about, Deb? And I'll go, I don't know. And now I can't find my faux stitch pen. I'm not going to sit here and faux stitch all of this, because obviously you guys have probably got better things to do with your time, but I will do a couple just to show you. So let me do the back one first. So here we are. So I'm using a little zig pen. It's a 05. I just find that's a nice size to do my faux stitching. Let's move me bracelet out of the way. Now, if you're a little bit wary of this, grab yourself a ruler and use a ruler, okay? And just put a ruler along that edge, and then you're just going to do your dashes going all the way along. I personally just find it easier to do it by hand without the aid of the ruler. And as you can see, I'm just doing little tiny dashes like so. Okay. And I'm trying to keep it as close to the edge as I can, but without it coming off the edge. So it looks like it's been stitched all the way round. And we're just going to come along like so. There we are. It just gives it that finished look to it, which I just love. Now, if you don't fancy doing little stitches, I can show you a couple of other things that you can do. I'll just get this one done. But whichever way or whichever design you decide to go with for your design, for your faux stitching, then to really give your album impact, I carry that all the way through. Hi Alison, I can see I've got Alison joining us as well. Nice of you to come along, my lovely. How you doing? Hope you're all good. So there we are. So that is your very basic faux stitching. Let me find a little bit of scrap paper. Here we are. Now you could do a couple of dashes and a couple of dots and a couple of dashes if you wanted, or you could do a couple of dashes and a kiss and a couple of dashes. You could do like a wiggly line and a couple of things. You know, you can mess around and do all sorts of different designs and stuff. If you don't like doing that at all, you can literally just do wavy lines all the way around, and sort of, I always try to do things in threes just to sort of get different effects. Or if you wanted, you could just do a straight line. Okay, lots of different ways of doing different types of faux stitching. My favourite though is just doing the stitched look. Okay, so that's going to go in there. Now, obviously, if you're going to do anything like this, I find it's easier to get these done before you stick it into the album. It just makes it easier for you to handle your page, because if you can imagine, once I've stuck this in, you know, then you've got to move the album round as you turn the page round to sort of do the other side. So it doesn't take that long to do, but I just think it's a nice way to finish off the paper. Now, the one thing that I haven't talked about tonight is, obviously, when you're making these albums, is just be wary of directional paper. Okay, this sheet I'm doing at the moment, it's directional. The wheat sheaths go up one way, so obviously I need to make sure that I stick it in the album that way and not the other way around, like for example the bees, whereas this one doesn't matter, I can put it in either way. Okay, so just a little tip, because trust me, I have done it. I've got too excited, I've cracked on with my album, stuck it all in, and then I've gone back through and realised I've stuck it in upside down. Happens to the best of us, I know. But it, yeah, so it's just something that I've noticed. So I'm just going to do this other one for the minute. Here we go. Just tuck those along. And I'm just going to do these. But yeah, I mean, this, as I said earlier, you know, it hasn't taken us that long to get this far to make this album. We're only just over the hour, and already we're at decorating. So yeah, a nice quick easy gift idea for somebody if you've forgotten to get somebody a birthday present, or perhaps you've got somebody leaving work, you know, you want a nice little personalized gift. Perhaps you've got some nice photos of your work colleagues and stuff like that, you know, you can tuck that in. That's a really lovely little gift idea that you can use. But as I said, we've got here in the UK, we've got Mother's Day coming up in March, so you can you know, sort of use that. And if you've got papers and stuff in your scrap box, even better. But do check out our website as well, because we've got some really beautiful papers in there at the moment that you can sort of buy, and that along with all the red liner tape and other bits and pieces that we have. But at the moment I'm on a sustainability drive where I'm trying to use up as many scraps as I can while I'm doing this. Don't know if any of you saw my Christmas card album that I did as well back in January. Sounds odd saying that, doesn't it? Back in January. I mean, we're only talking like a couple of weeks, but seems like it was ages ago, where I made an album and I decorated it with Christmas cards. So do check that out as well. That's on the Facebook page, and I believe, I'm not sure if I'll put it up on YouTube. I'll have to double check. If I haven't, I'll get that sorted and get that up on there. But it just, I think it just finishes it. Yeah, so just utilising what you've got around you, really. But as I said, if you haven't got any construction board, cereal box will quite happily make this album, you know. Right, I've tucked that one in there. Here we are. I'm on the last one. Look, me waffling, and I've got them done already. I wasn't going to do that, but I've waffled on, so apologies. I'll just put these last few in on there as well. Here we go, like so, and that. So there we are. And actually, do you know what? Those of you who've got children or grandchildren, half term next week, the kids could make one of these. And you know, if you go out on a day trip out somewhere, you know, you take some photos. What a lovely way of sort of keeping those memories alive for them by sort of making a little album, or getting the kids to make the album with you, and putting those, you know, putting those lovely memory photos in, which would be a really nice idea. Okay, right, here comes the fun bit. So we've done all the fiddly bits for now, so we're just going to stick everything down. As always, I'm using my good old faithful bookbinding glue. Don't know if I've told you about, if I have told you about it, I apologise in advance. But for those who haven't seen my videos, the bookbinding glue I absolutely love. One, because it's quite strong, and two, it has a lower water content, which means that that it doesn't bubble up your papers. Okay, no, I'm just checking to make sure that that's going on there. Now I've got that first one in, I will now sort of carry on with the rest and start sticking these in. Yeah, so yeah, the bookbinding glue is great stuff, and it dries clear as well. And you only need to use a small amount of it. It is quite sparing in that sense. So let's move this over here so you can just see what I'm doing over here. So I'm just lining that up on the front of those pages, making sure that's nice and square. You have a little bit of wiggle room with the bookbinding glue, but not as much as like if you was using PVA glue. Just seeing that can come down just a fraction. Again, I'm just going by eye here, but if you're unsure about how to stick it, then you can use a ruler to help you. Okay, let me just go around and stick these on. Yeah, so you can see I'm not putting much glue on there at all. I'm making sure I am sticking them up the right way. Alright, okay. Caught the edge of that. Let's just run that down. That'll be fine. That'll dry. Now I'm just trying to make sure that as these fold over, that these are also in line now, because when you fold it over, you want to make sure that it looks aesthetically pleasing. That's a good word for me on a Thursday night. Aesthetically pleasing. Right, okay. Here we go. I'm just going to pop in this other one, and again I'm just trying to make sure that I'm keeping, can you see here, I'm trying to keep the same sort of distance on the page, and it's in line with each other, and it's straight. Deb, make sure it's straight. Okay, so it's just so that the overall effect when you look at the album, you know, it pops. Okay, all right. Quick slurp of tea. See, I've done it again. I've come out here with an ordinary cup with my tea, when I should be putting it in my insulated cup, because I'm now drinking cold tea. Anybody else have that problem? Just drinking cold cup of tea. All right, we'll just tuck that one in on there. Okay. And then this one, we're just going to pop this in on here, like so. All right. Now, did you know, a bit of useless information for you, that my name, Deborah, actually means the bee? It's probably why I'm as busy as a bee. But yeah, it's quite interesting when they sort of hear things like that. Right, okay, so there we go. So we've got our lovely pages stuck on there. Now on this side is where I'm going to put photo mats, and then I can add in little strips of contrasting papers in between. Okay, on my original one, just to show you where I've done something differently, because it's always good to sort of change things up a bit. Hi Jackie, I'm busy as always as a bee. So here you can see I've got the page at the front there. Okay, but on this side I've done it slightly differently. I've put a smaller photo in with a little strip down the side, but on this one I've actually gone with the whole page. So you can change it up a little bit. Okay, now obviously on this side I'd still be able to get a 3x4 matte photo, and on here, if I wanted to, I could either leave it as a patterned paper. That one I could possibly put a photo on if I wanted, but the choice is yours. But just showing you the different options that you can do. And here you see I've put tiny little strips in there as well. So depending on how many photos that you want to add to your album, Obviously you can change that up and do whatever you like on that. Okay, right, so now we're on to, so that's that side done for the minute, and I'm just going to clip that together. Okay, and now it's literally just a case of inking round these and doing exactly the same. So I'm just going to quickly do those. Now what you'll probably notice is that what I have done is I'm just decorating the inside first. In fact, I always do that with my albums. I always decorate and finish off the inside first, because I find that, you know, if I'm moving the album back like that and I've got the lovely papers on the outside, that potentially they could get damaged. So I don't want that to happen. I want to try and keep the outside papers as pristine as possible. And so I always decorate the inside first. It's just my thing. You do what you like. You want to decorate the inside and the outside in whatever order you want to. That is absolutely fine. So we're just going to ink around here. And now these, I'm just going to stick these on, and I'll come back and do the faux stitching at a later date. If we get time later on at the end of this, I'll do that. But we just sort of want to get that sorted. Right, so they're all inked round. So we've got the doors. So, and then we've got the outside there, and then we've got the honeysuckle that's going on the inside. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stick the honeysuckle in first, because I want to make sure that when those pages come over, you're not going to see that page. So let's just pop a little bit of glue on here. Would this make a nice kids album though, wouldn't it? You know, put the photos, you know, perhaps you take them out for the park or what have you. Yeah, now this one, okay, directional paper, just with flowers, just be careful, because sometimes the flowers might look haphazard, but check the way that the vines and the leaves are going. All right, so make sure we get that in the right way. So I'm just going to tuck that one in, make sure that that is folds over so you can't see that. That is fairly straight. Okay, and then we're going to put the outsides on. Now, as I said, if you wanted to add magnets, now's the time to put your magnet on. So if I was going to put a magnet there to hold that in, that's what I will do. And you know what? I'm going to show you how to do that. Let's do that. Let's put a magnet in to hold that down, because then that flap will come in. And then what I can do is put a magnet to hold all of that down on that side. You see, I'm going rogue, people. I'm going rogue. But that's the beauty of craft. Look, you see, I love my clips, but they get stuck to everything. Right, let's tuck those in there. Now, if I'm clever, I could get away with just using 2 magnets, because what I can do is put a magnet on the inside of that flap there, and then when that comes down is have the other one on this side, so that that will then, and that should hold that all in place. Yes, right, okay. So what I'm going to do is put a little bit of glue. Now, bearing in mind I've got the door, so I'm just checking that to make sure that that magnet is going to be covered by the door cover. A bit of pattern paper, so I'm just going to stick that on like so. And I'm just going to use a little bit of tape just to hold that in position so it doesn't move. Again, just bearing in mind that when I stick that down, I'm now going to stick that on there ready to go. Right, okay, those are a little bit on the... Okay, so I'm just going to stick that down. Now these bees are higgledy-piggledy, so I don't think it matters too much which way I stick these up on there. Right, let's go round. think I've made these a little bit narrower than the others, but that's all right. Okay, so we're just going to stick that on there. So let's move it up just a fraction. Bring that in, so I've got a nice straight edge coming down there. The only trouble when you're working on black, sometimes it's hard to see where the edge of the page is. So a little tip that I do use is sometimes I tuck something white underneath, and then I can see what my distance is. See, now that pops right out and I can see exactly what that is. Okay, now, okay, oh, there's the magnet, he's slid in there. So now I've got that on, I can drop that on there, put a little dot of glue, and I'll bring that down, hold that in position. Now I know where this magnet's got to go on the other page, and we're just going to stick that down on there and add a little bit of tape to hold that in place. And then when I come to put the photo mat on, that will cover that. So let's just test that. There we go. That holds that all nice in place. See, I went rogue and it worked. There we go. Right, okay, and then on this one I just need now to put the other page, so I need to make sure that I line that up when I stick that down as well. Okay, if you didn't want to put a photo mat on there, obviously you can put another bit of patterned paper. You know what, it really doesn't matter. Like I said earlier, it depends how many photos you want to get into the album. And then you can just work that out. So I'm just going to see how we do with that. I'm coming in a little bit, just straighten that up a little bit, making sure that is, just bring that down, try and line that up, make sure I've got that nicely lined up with that edge as well. And there we go, so we've got 1, 2 doors, and then that comes down over the end. Look, see, look. Magnets working. The magnets are working. Right, okay, and then my lovely little design on here. I am going to faux stitch around this, so just so that when we look at it at the end, it all looks lovely. Oh, I've put my lovely pen somewhere. So, perfect. Right, okay. Well, thank you for your comment, Jackie. You give us nice honey. You made me laugh. You so made me laugh. It's all playing with the little bumblebees. Okay. So, right, I'm just going to go along and do this. That one, just a little like so. Okay, right, and then we're just going to come round here. See, I'll just go all the way along. Get this bit done, like so. And then all sides to go. There we are. And then finally the last little bit. Right, let's pop that along. There we are. Oh, cute little bumbles. Gotta love a bumblebee. Gotta love a bumblebee. Okay. Oh, thank you, Pippa, for your comment. Love the look of this project. Definitely going to try this one. Yeah, I mean, it's lovely, isn't it? It's a real cutie, you know, and you can just adapt it and decorate it with whatever you like. Just, there we go. But do check out my other ones that I've done as well. So, right, now the bumbles. Okay, so it's going to pop these on. And try and get that level. I'm just going to use my little black. Now I've put the magnet on there, I can't open it. There we go. Right, just so I can see the distance on the edges and that, make sure I get a nice even edge going round. Okay, right, let's take that out. And that is, let's take that, that is the inside of the album done pretty much, apart from our little strip down there. So we've got the flap that opens up. Obviously I'm going to put a photo mat on there. And you've got these that open up, and then we'll put little photo mats there. You can put a little photo on there if you want as well. But I just think already that is just looking really lovely. And then we've just got the photo mats and the other little strips and stuff to sort of go through and do that. Okay, let's just have a little think about this. Now you see I did like this, but I think that is going to look too much in the middle of there. So this is what I mean. Sometimes you have an idea, you go, oh yeah, I'm going to use that, and then when you come to put it all together, it doesn't quite work. You see, that just doesn't work on the inside, but that might very well work on the outside. And okay, oh, do you know what, for a minute I thought I'd lost my covers on the outside. Oh goodness me, there's no hope. There's no hope for me, honestly. Right, so this is for the outside. Okay, and what I'm thinking is I'm just going to flip the album. I'm going to come back to that one in a minute because I haven't quite decided what I'm going to put in there, but let's flip this over. I like my You're Sweet Like Honey. That's going to go front, and that is definitely going to be on the front of that front of the album with that on there. Now I have got, you see, I can either go with the gold and have a little bit of that, or I could have that, although I have used that on the inside. Perhaps I'm going to go a little bit, let's go a little bit, because we've sort of got the honeycomb there and you've got the buzzy bees. It almost looks like they're coming over. Don't be afraid of being bold with your choices. Okay, now this one, yes, I actually used the same paper on the back cover and on the spine, and then I had a different one. But as you can see, I've used some of that paper and I've incorporated it across. Okay, so I have sort of tried to tie that in, but don't be afraid to be bold and really sort of go for different patterns and stuff. But having said that, I'm now looking at it thinking I'm not sure that I like that or not. See, I told you, I changed my mind. Let's have a rummage in the bag and see what else I've got in here that could be used. See, now we have got some of the yellow, but I don't think that's going to work. And we have got some of honeysuckle, but I've used that on the inside. We have, we've got some little daisies, but they don't really work either. Okay. And what else have we got? Oh, goodness me. Oops, I'm dropping paper everywhere. Honest, I'm so glad you can't see the mess of my craft room at the moment. The amount of papers that are falling on the floor around my ankles is shocking. Just okay. So let's have a little see. I'm just having a, bear with me people, I'm just having a rummage. Now I have got this one. You see, I love that paper, but it's just not going to go with the album. So we're going to ditch that idea and we're going to go for something. You see, I've got greens, but I'm not sure that the greens go either, really. What else have I got? I'm just having a little rummage through some of my other papers here. So I've got some with flowers on. I don't think the flowers are going to go. Okay. Do you know what? Let's just bite the bullet, Deb, and go with your first thought. There we are. Sometimes that is the best. Okay. But I think I am going to use that on the back. And actually that gold then blends in maybe a little bit better if I use the gold or I might use, see that is just, oh, I don't know now. No, I've put that together with that. I'm not so sure anymore. Oh, my life. Please tell me I'm not the only one that has these issues, you know. Just sort of trying to think, or I've got something that is just very, very plain. But that actually, thinking about it, might work for the inside bit. Yes, I'm going to put that to one side for the inside bit. The other alternative is that I do the front, I do that and the spine with that, and then have that on the outside. I think that might work better actually. Shall we go with that, people? What do you reckon? I think so. Yeah. Okay. We're going with that. That's it. Decision made. I'm going to go with that and the other one on the spine, and then we're just going to have a slight different contrast on the back. So let's just measure my papers. I think you believe it, we've almost finished this already. Oh my life. Right, okay, so I'm coming in. Right, let's measure that because this is going to determine the right, that is 4, it's just under 4 1/4. Just wondering if I've got any slightly bigger than that, because that is ideally, because the album covers are a little bit bigger than the pages, I really would like that at 4 1/4. This bit is just a little bit too narrow. Is this 4 1/4? See, that is 4 1/8. See, if that's 4 1/8, I'll put that on there. Will I get away with that? Probably not. No. So I'm just going to dig out some of the other bigger sheets I've got, and we'll try and get that done. Let's just have a little look. I just hope to goodness I have got some that big now in my stash. I don't think I have actually. I might have to change up the front cover completely now. You see, this is what it gets when you know, you're trying to perfection and all the rest of it, and you're trying to sort of come up with different designs. Have I got, let's see, that's all one-sided. Maybe I'm just going to have to go with the 4 1/4 then, 4 1/8. Let's do that then. Okay. Right. So 4 1/8, and is this 4 1/8? Let's get my bigger ruler. Right. It's just going to measure this. Right. 4 1/8 by, let's have a little look at the distance on that. 4 1/8 by, let's go 5 1/4. 5 1/4. And before I cut that, I'm just going to put that up against it just to see what the gap on that, how that's going to look. 1 2 3 4 5 1/4. Actually, I might do it 5 3/8 because it's better to cut it bigger than because if you cut it too small at the beginning, at least I can trim a bit off if it's just a little bit out. So let's just trim that. Right, moment of truth. Let's have a little look. Okay, so you can see there I've got quite a gap at the top and the bottom, but not either side. So I will trim off and make that 5. I think it'll be 5 1/4, and we'll give that a go. So it's all about using, as I said, using up your scraps and stuff, really, isn't it? Sometimes you have to adjust things accordingly to make sure that it's going to fit. I'm not sure that edge is straight there. Let's have a little line that up on there. Oh, it is. Right, okay. Here we go. Okay, that's better. I suppose I could almost get away with 5, but I'm going to leave that as it is. Lovely. Right, okay, so now I'm just going to cut the same piece here. So that was 4 1/8, which is the right size, by 5 1/4. So we'll just trim this 5 1/4, like so. Just lining up. I love these grids, they're just great. Okay, and then I just need to do the last little bit on the river. I'm glad, by the way, Pippa, that you are not the only one that has these issues. Oh goodness, yeah, I do, yeah. I think it comes with the territory, doesn't it? You know, sometimes I just think to myself, what on earth am I doing? And yeah, I think it's just something that we need to sort of do. What's that, 4 1/8? So I just got to make sure that I cut this like so. Here we go. All right, and then the last little bit here. Now the spine is, let's just measure that. That was, so I'm going to do that by 1 inch. So if I want something a little bit fancy, let's make it, change it a little bit. Let's cut. I want it with a couple of bees in there. Oh, bees coming off that edge, so we're just going to trim that down. There we go. Okay, and while I'm cutting that, I'm going to cut this bit from the middle, because then I can just stick that bit in. So that's 1 inch by 4 1/8. Here we go. And just line that up, and then that will be our basic album done then. Right. So I'm just going to, the same as I've done with all the others, I'm just going to ink round. I'm going to faux stitch these though, because obviously sticking these on the outside of the album makes it a little bit tricky to do that. Obviously the inside ones were flat, so, but because this has obviously got a bit of a spring to it, it doesn't make it as easy to do. So we'll just sort of pop that along. Just give that a little ink like so, and all these little bees. Okay, and we're just going to come and do that. Now I've just had a brainwave, because originally I was looking at that, putting that on there, and then I was going to possibly put that on there, but I think that might be too busy now. So what I'm thinking is I might put that one on the front and have that on there once I've lined up with the black. See what I mean? I told you I'm really bad. I just changed my mind, and yeah, and I'm just a nightmare is what I am. I think we just need to get on with it, Deb. I think what I'll do before I stick these down, I'm going to mount that on the black and see what it looks like against each of the covers before I make my final decision. Okay, so a little bit of faux stitching. Here we go. Across the little bumblebees and the honeycomb. You know, I love the idea of having an actual beehive in the garden, you know, and I'll try and have flowers in the garden to attract the bees, but I'm just worried at the fact that if I did have a hive in the garden, that I'd be stung stung, you know. I like the idea of having the fresh honey, but yeah, I don't know if there's any beekeepers out there. But when you see them all suited and booted and that, I think they're very brave. I don't think I could quite do that somehow. But there we are. I'm just going to put that along like so. And we're just going to do the same on this one. See, it's nice just to chillax of an evening. I can do a little bit of crafting. I think those of you who have got looking after grandchildren have got the kids home next week for half term. I don't know if it's half term across the country for everybody, but our ones here down in Essex, we've got the kids off next week. You know, grabbing 5 minutes peace and quiet now is probably all you're gonna get. Yeah. But what I find is this craft is really good. It's, you know, keeps them busy as well. You know, get them involved, which I just think is a lovely way of passing on skill set and stuff like that. There we are. Right, okay. So we're almost done on this one. There we go. How are we doing for time? See, that's not bad, is it? Look at that, 8:45. And we've almost got the album finished with the key decoration. And to be honest, you lot probably get it done a lot quicker because you wouldn't be faffing as much as me. Perhaps I should be called Debbie the Faffy Crafter. Just, there we are. I'll just put that in. And what I'm going to do actually is ink round this topper, and just to tie it in with everything else, I'm going to faux stitch round this as well. Don't be afraid to do that, you know, if you've got toppers and things like that, you know, sort of change them up and add your own little embellishments on them so that they help tie in with what you're making. I just think it's a nice way of, you know, incorporating them in so they don't look like they've just been plonked on, if you know what I mean. So I just think that's great just to be able to do that. And we'll just come along like so. There we go. Honestly, all this squeaking is my table. Honestly, it's not my joints, I promise you. Yeah, I need to get some WD-40 out. Right, okay. And before we stick these on the covers, I just need to dig out a little bit of black card, which I probably haven't got to hand. Let me just get this scrap box. Oh, goodness me. Right, that's going to work. So I'm going to stick this on and then I'm going to trim round it. Now you can either do this freehand trimming round with a pair of scissors, but because of the pattern, because of the shape of it and got nice straight lines, I'm actually going to use my OmniGrid ruler to do that. So I'm just going to stick that on there, just like so. Right, okay, let's just take that end bit off. Right, and I'm just going to give myself 1/8 of an inch all the way round. So if I just cut this like so, and so we'll just do that. Okay, and just line that up. There we go, 3 more sides to go. I think Mickey the cat has given up trying to get in tonight. It's all very quiet in there. I bet you when I go back into the house, he'll be sat in my chair. because trust me, if he'd been in here tonight, he would have been all over this. And I'm sure there's a few who have issues with that as well. Who said that crafting is not a challenge, eh? Because trust me, when you've got pets in the house, yes. Right, okay, we are almost there, people. It's exciting, isn't it? So this is the fun bit now. So what I'm going to do is, let's just try that out. So if I put that on there and I put that on there, okay, I'm quite liking that. And then I might have these on the back and on the side. Yeah. Now what I could do is I could leave it like that. Now on the other one, I did have a coloured strip going through, although I didn't put an initial thing because I quite like the paper as it is, but I did have a contrasting piece of paper going through. Or what I could do is add ribbon, is maybe put a strip of ribbon, or if you've got like washi tape, for example, then you could put washi tape in there as well, just to sort of change it up a bit. Now I've got a big box here of washi tape, so let's just have a little look. Washi tape, if you don't know what I mean by washi tape, it's this stuff. It's great. It's basically, it's no, Siri, I don't want to talk to you about washi tape, thank you. Yeah, it's you know, it's just sticky patterned tape, and I just love it. Now I'm just having a look. You see, that's got honey, and that says you're sweet like honey, so maybe that's a little bit OTT. This one has actually got some little honeycombs in there, so I'm just having a look at the contrast to see what might work. That's a bit flowery. That's the wrong cut. They're the wrong color palette, so let's just put those out the way for the minute. This one has got cute little bees, but the whole thing of this, it's not really cutesy. They're sort of cute little bees. That's right. What have we got there? What have I got on this one? No, I quite like, look, you see this one, slight contrast, but it's got, I don't know if you can see this, it's got, let's just pick that a little bit. See, that's tape. Try and, that's it. It's actually got little honey pots and that on it. Okay, so that's a bit of a contrast, but I quite like that one. Or we've got, you see now they're a bit cartoony, or we've just got the black and the, so let's just have a little look and see what that looks like. Let me just find the edge. Talk amongst yourselves. 3 hours later, when we're trying to get the end of the tape, you see. No, I don't like that one. And then that one's wrong. I think it's a toss-up between these two. But because we've already got the honeycomb in there, I think that would be quite nice, because it's sort of got some of the shadings. It's a little sort of, and because it says you're sweet like honey and it's got little honey pots on it, I'm going to go with that. And before I stick this down, I'm going to put a strip going across, and then I can tuck it round there, and it just gives something else different to the front cover. So in order to get a fairly straight line, let's, here we are, oops. Now I'm just looking at giving a rough distance. See, right, that needs to come down, so maybe I'll come up by, sort of come along by 3 inches there, and then I can run my strip along there, which will just give me a little bit at the bottom, but then we're going to have enough for that to sort of go over the top, and that will cover some of it as well. All right, we're going in, people, we're going in. So I'm going to turn that round so I can get it straight on there. So 3 inches, just making sure that's lined up. I'm using this as a rough guide. Let's just work out, I'm just going to tear that, so I haven't got the faff in that. Just love this stuff. And we're just going to hold that in position. I'm just going to butt that up against the edge of that ruler and drop that down. There we are. Okay, I'm going to tuck those in. Okay, like so. And if I put that on there, now, oh, now do I do it top and bottom? Ooh, I could do, couldn't I? What do you think? Should I do that top and bottom? What does everybody think? Should I do that top and bottom? Oh, hi, Beryl is watching. For those of you who don't know, Beryl is my mum. Hi, mum. I'm making bees again. Right, okay, so just before I stick that on, I might just to balance it. Yes, right, okay. I'm going for it, everybody. I'm going to put, so I came 3 inches from one side. So let's do 3 inches from this side. Now, bearing in mind, I've got to make sure that I put the tape on the right way as well. So that's it. Yeah, that will work. Let's turn that round. So I'm doing it upside down. Here we are. Let's have a little look. Make sure we've got that at 3 inches on there. And this has got to go up the other way. So I'm just going to back that up against, oh no, that moved. Right, let's just hold that in position. Right, okay. Right, here we go. Yeah, that's not too bad. And then I can tuck those ends in. Like so, and then this will, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount this bit on some sticky pads, just to give it a little bit of a lift. Now, do I or don't I faux stitch along that? Yeah, because then that will help it stand out against everything else. I'm going in, so I'm just going to put, let's see if it will work on here. Because this washi tape is a little bit shiny, so I'm having to sort of double back on myself a little bit with my little dashes, just so it sticks on like so. And I've just lightly done that, and that goes on. That's going to work better. Right, and we'll come back and do the other side. Okay. There we go. Oh, I love this washi tape. It's so cute. It's got the little honey spoons, honey jars. It looks like it's got oranges on it. It's got tiny little like lavender flowers on it as well. And I'm going to do the same. Same on this one. I suppose this, if I could have inked the edges, perhaps that might have worked better, but I was too eager to put it down on the card. And then our last little one on here, we'll just do, it's just to give it that little definition along that edge, like so. And then because I've got the faux stitching coming up, so I'm just going to go over that, just so it blends it in on there, so it looks like it's part of the paper. There we go. Okay, right, I'm just going to let that dry for 2 minutes, and I'm going to pop some of the pads on there. Now, again, I'm using up scraps and stuff like that. So sometimes when you've taken out a load of your double-sided dots and stuff like that, you're often left with this. And actually, this is great because what I will do is I will cut out a chunk and just peel the whole lot off and stick it on, because then it's utilising that as well. Just a little extra tip for you there. So let's go. I'm going to cut down there. I'll come across. Is that going to be too much? Let's have a little look. Right, okay. So I'm just going to trim off those edges because I just want to lift it off the paper. Right, and that will work perfectly on there. So again, using up any scraps and stuff like that is really handy. And I won't throw these bits away either, because these tiny little bits can be used for little embellishments and that. So let's just peel this off. Oh, I've still got a little dot left in there. Let's take that off. Is that all tacky? That is all tacky. Right, okay, I'm going to stick that just in there. And now making sure I've got my honey bees and everything up the right way, my honey pots rather. I'm just going to peel that off like so. There we go. It's all lovely and sticky and tacky. Oops! No, it's so sticky. It's sticking to me now. Okay. All right, and then we're just going to pop that on there. Now, a little guide, just see, right, because we've got our front cover is 5 1/4 inches. So before I drop this on, I just want to have a rough idea of where I'm going to place it in the middle, because in all honesty, once I drop this, that's it. Then it stays. So I just want it to cover over slightly, and right, okay, I'll just move it over just a fraction, like so. Right, okay, and I've got a little bit over the top and over the bottom. That could probably go. I haven't completely pushed that down, just adjust it just a little bit. Okay. Right, let's have a little look. Right, okay, and that is our front cover. Yay! So we've got the front cover and the back cover and the spine to go on. But we'll just come back to here because I haven't put this bit in the middle, and I did cut it and I've put it somewhere, and here it is. I think that will just sort of blend in. So again, I'm just going to ink and quickly faux stitch around that and stick that on, and then we can put the covers on, and then that pretty much is our basic album done, apart from the extra little decorative bits and pieces that I've got here, and I'm putting in my little photo mats, but just so that we've got an over, you know, the album sort of decorated. I think it will look fantastic. Now what I normally use, well, it's up to you really. If you're giving this as a gift, then obviously you don't need to put photo mats in. If you're putting the photos in anyway, you just trim the photos down obviously to fit the pages. But if you're giving it as a gift for somebody to add their own photos to, then obviously you will need to add in those photo mats for them. And then that will just complete the album, so they get it as that lovely gift. So like I've done here, if I was gifting this as an album to somebody, you know, it's got here the place of photo here, and they can see exactly where they need to pop their photos and stuff that they want. Okay, so you've got that opportunity to do that. Right, let's glue you down beforehand. And again, I'm just opening that up so I can line up roughly where that's coming in on that page. Whoops. Let's put the glue on. like so. There we are. Okay, just adjust that. So I'm trying to get it. I know it's not quite central to the spine, but it's trying to sort of make sure it sort of looks aesthetically pleasing as you go across. So let's just move that over a little bit. There we are. Okay, and then we'll put the things on the back. So I'm going to do the back first. So again, the bees are going all different ways on here. And I'm just going to turn it that way because it makes it easier for me just to see the length of it as it goes down like that. And so it's got a nice little shine to it, this one, this paper. Okay, and we're going to flip that. And I'm going to line that on, so I'm trying to get that evenly spaced. Okay, and then we're going to do the spine, and then it will be the last little bit, the little beads on there, and that's going to tuck in. There we go. Okay, yeah, I'm glad I went with that choice actually, because that just looks nice as it goes out. And then the final part is our front cover, which is going to sit in on there. And I'm glad I used the washi tape. It just gives it a little bit of oomph. That's another technical term I'm using. A little bit of oomph. There we go. Okay, and we're just going to make sure that is again level with the other ones as it comes across. And as I've always said, you know, I'm just going by eye here, but you know, if you want to make sure it's straight, use your ruler. Okay, and there we are, and that is pretty much our little mini flip album done. Now, obviously, I will probably, because I'm looking at the time now, we've just gone 9 o'clock. I've got a couple of little bits and pieces to do on this. I just need to put my photo mats in. I've still got to do a little bit of faux stitching round on those. And then I've got some lovely little things here that I can use for decorating. I've got some little tags. Yeah, look, you know, for a beautiful friend. I've got some little circles and little hearts and things like that, and I've got some little flowers and stuff that I'm probably going to use to decorate the inside with. And actually, when I made the accordion book, I put the front on, but I didn't decorate the inside of that as well. So what I'm probably going to do is I'll decorate both these albums up, finish them off, and then I'll do a little show and tell, and I'll put the photos up of both finished albums so you can see what I've done. But what I love is that it's sort of mix and matching the papers, so they make quite a nice little set.